and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Sherry Uppin, and I will be your host today. Today's show will demonstrate why South Florida is one of the most culturally diverse regions in the United States. But first, let's meet our panelists for today. Bill Hirschman is an arts journalist and the founder of FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. Michelle Solomon is also an arts journalist and the editor of MiamiArtZine.com. And Adalberto Acevedo is the theater arts teacher at Arthur and Polly Mays Conservatory of the Arts. Now, we have two wonderful guests today. Please, let's meet Loren Oliveira and Beatriz Malnic of Brazilian Voices. Bem-vindo. Welcome.
Obrigada.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Before we go any further, let's show our audience exactly what you do. We have a video to share. Wow, that is so wonderful.
That was amazing.
I just love Brazilian music. You know, I even tried capoeira. Yes,
Capoeira,
many years ago, but I only tried it once. Would you tell us about the evolution of Brazilian Voices, how it started and where you are today?
Yes, we started small in 2001. Then later we became a nonprofit organization, only women singers, right? I met Loren in 1999. And then we decided to create a little group that became Brazilian Voices later on. But it was a different stages, so we didn't have to go all through this. But we are right now around 37 Brazilian singers. Not all professionals. We have maybe we are professionals. We have Carla that's professional. We have maybe 2 or 3 more professionals, but we train the singers from the beginning, and some sang before in different places. And anyways, Brazilian Voices as a nonprofit has 4 different departments. As you saw in the video, this is one of our departments, the cultural performances, but we also perform in hospitals, in smaller groups, of course. Groups of 6 to 8 singing bossa nova in hospitals. We also perform, we have an educational called From Brazil to the World, where we show Brazil through music, all different kind of music from Brazil to especially schools, middle, elementary, and high schools. And we sing in hospitals, so.
Oh, that's healing. It seems like it's a very healing experience. But you have all women, but there are men who play instruments. I saw in your video.
Exactly. The members are all female group, but we hire musicians, and we go to theaters and we get involved with the whole structure of theaters. We already did 26 concerts in the Broward Center for the Performing Arts, Amaturo Theater, we just had one concert last week, Ella. that talks about jazz, American jazz, and how this American jazz influenced Bossa Nova in Brazil, and how in 1962 in Carnegie Hall, the Bossa Nova came and influenced also American jazz. So how this full circle works. So we try to educate, but also to engage, to interact with our local community. And the best way to do it, you know, the program in hospitals as well is something that had developed a lot throughout the past 11 years.
Well, you mentioned bossa nova, but there are various different forms of Brazilian music, and one is axé.
Axé, yeah, it's kind of
and there's bossa nova, and then there's
forró.
Forró
That comes from the word for all.
Do you do all of this music? Can you describe a little bit of the difference?
Yes. We have in our program educational called From Brazil to the World. We show Brazil through different regions. Brazil is almost a continent, right? So northeastern of Brazil, the forró, then axé from Bahia. We also do Brazilian rock. We imitate American rock, so we have Brazilian rock and Brazilian jazz, bossa nova called. It's very important characteristic, is one of our main points that we work a lot with Brazilian jazz, bossa nova, but also samba. Samba, very important. Also
Jazz
created in
samba,
Rio de Janeiro, samba. Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to be part of Brazilian Voices, and that's not my primary language, do I have to speak the language, or would you teach me how to sing in that language?
Actually, we have two singers from New York, Carla Jackson. Actually, you're gonna interview her here in the future as well, and TJ from New York, and they want to learn Portuguese. So it's the best way to learn language from music, right? While you're singing. So we also have members from Panama, from Argentina, from Peru.
So that doesn't somebody doesn't have to have the primary language.
No, because Brazilian Voices functions as a school. It's like a school of vocal training for the performing arts. So there are lawyers, engineers, we have even from a Capitão do Exército Brasileiro, we have designers, so they help with the wardrobe, they help with the website, so everybody can bring a little bit of their knowledge, educators for the educational program, so they can come and contribute and feel part of this community. And bring to the community what they learn, and the experience they brought from their countries. So it's a very diverse group, Brazilian Voices, right now.
What they have in common is the passion for Brazilian music and wanting to learn
Portuguese and music.
And interact with other Brazilians also. So.
Is there, American jazz being an excellent example is actually a fusion of 3 or 4 different musical influences that came together and became its own piece. And some of them go back a couple of hundred and even 300 years if you look back. Is Brazilian music similar, or are there roots that go back to folk music 150 or 200 years ago?
I think the beginning of African music, right? Also, let's see, simplify a little bit. So African music came from Africa to US and to Brazil. To US, we had the blues scales.
Right.
So it changed towards something different. In Brazil, we had lots of rhythm, melodies, modal, a lot of modal music. So it came through northeastern Bahia with the modal music and then transformed. I think this could be, I think the African could be the element of the connection, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other country in the world, and just someone can tell me differently, that has so many different colors. So many different ideas. It's like a kaleidoscope of different kinds of music and different kinds of wonderful. And the food is not bad.
It's delicious.
Either. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background?
Sure. I began my career singing in Brazil, but mostly musicals. By that time in São Paulo, I'm from São Paulo, and that was one of the first musicals that we brought to São Paulo in a big production. Lloyd Webber was the Evita, and I was part of the musical. and as Perón lover. And then from there, I work in a Grupo Ornitorrinco. I work with different theater groups, but always musical, always singing, always with this, passion for music. So when I moved to United States 23 years ago, was when I felt the need of, it was very difficult for me to bring music, my career, to United States. Of course, Portuguese. So I started working with dubbing and movies, dubbing movies. So I met Beatriz in Weston through a friend, and she was also working with voiceover. Discovery Channel. She has the Discovery Channel voice.
I didn't have voiceover.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable.
Yes. So from there, we started driving, kind of carpool to Miami, from Weston to Miami, and we started putting together this. We had this dream of having a group of female voices representing Brazil. Because through the music and arts, we can tell so much about our country. And also because of homesick, we're feeling like, so lonely. But at the same time, we didn't want to build or begin something that would isolate us from the American community. We want to be part of the community. We don't want to be like this Brazilian group that is, far away from our reality, from our community. So that's why the Brazilian Voices, I think, was from the beginning with this purpose and mission of educating, of promoting well-being within our community was something that was very authentic and genuine.
Would you tell us a little bit about your
Yes.
background?
Yes,
Thank you.
I have a bachelor's degree in music in Brazilian University. I'm also, besides a singer, I'm also a pianist. I started as a pianist, became more a singer. But I worked with some Brazilian musicians touring, and then in 1996 I came. But one thing, before I continue my story here in the US, I met Loren when she was 2 days old, because we were born in the same nursing
the same nursery.
nursery home. Yes, same maternity
2 days
ward.
apart,
Yeah,
yeah.
2 days apart, but we discovered this only when we got here. But then, anyways, once we're talking here, then you were also born in the same place, 2 days apart.
And I saw her concerts, and she saw mine in Brazil, but we never met there. We met here
We
in
only met
Weston,
here,
in Broward County.
Oh, it was meant to
From
be.
Brazil
Meant
to
to be.
Broward
We
County.
have lots more questions, but I think we have another video
Great.
clip. You could probably lead us all into singing that. Was that bossa nova?
Yes.
After Astrid Gilberto did The Boy from
The Girl from
Ipanema, The Girl from
Yeah, she
Ipanema.
translates the
Yeah,
point.
she-
Yes,
The Boy from
that
Ipanema,
was
yeah.
that the height of Brazilian music? Did you find that everybody was singing, and then what happened after that? How do you
I think it was a
resurge it?
very important song that was known here. In 1962 at Carnegie Hall, we had the first concert, Brazilian concert here, engaging a lot of American musicians. Charlie Bird, Stan Getz, and many other. Ella Fitzgerald, as we performed in our last performance. Frank Sinatra and Jobim, they did a series of CDs together, work together. So, but The Girl from Ipanema is definitely a very important song. I think it was the top hit or first or second hit for a lot of time here in US. So Brazilian bossa nova with the rhythm brought to the American jazz scene that was kind of fading down because of rock and roll. Motown brought some fresh energy, some fresh air.
Where would you say Brazilian music is today? And how does that incorporate into what you all do?
Where's today? I think Brazilian music is heard like American music all over the world. And I think it's very strong. I think I could consider American music and Brazilian music with almost the same weight of strength and importance. Yes, so I think it's.
Are there
it's
people
strong.
doing modern Brazilian music? Are there like we have, you know, our American rock or our hip hop? Is there a wave, like a new wave of
Oh,
Brazilian?
yes, in Brazil.
What's
Or
what's
here in United
happening
States.
In Brazil.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. A lot of funk music and a lot of different music styles that they developed, inspired by American music as well, as usual. But it's very strong. Even Anita is recording with Madonna, and so there's a lot of exchange here.
But also roots are very important in Brazil. Yeah.
We were talking earlier about music representing your culture, and the pressures that must be that you must feel in having to represent all of Brazil when you're out performing, and when just having your music represent an entire culture. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you feel?
Yeah, we're talking about the responsibility of. Because you mentioned, right, that one person can represent. When we talk about Brazil, remember you thought about Sergio Mendes, right? So, and how much Sergio Mendes represents you, it reminds you about a country. So by being a group of women representing Brazilian music, the voices of Brazil, for us is a great responsibility in the community. So when we go to hospitals, we not only bring music, but we bring a smile, a respect for all the patients and the doctors and the nurses. And this healing environment is what we feel that all of us need.
Why is it that I'm fascinated that you don't hear much in Anglo culture about Peruvian music. You don't hear much about Polish music. You don't hear. What is it about Brazil that you think has made them such an icon in the music world internationally? What is it about that country? Is there something about the personality, about the culture
I think
that really becomes a place where music comes from, as opposed to many other countries which I'm sure have their own music, but you don't hear it?
Yes, I think that Brazilians, they have this, not only the personality, the intention. Our composers, I think, they deserve all the credits, because Antonio Carlos Jobim and Roberto Menescal, we have a lot of composers. They're bon vivant, they love life, bohemian. They love the ocean, the nature, the connection with those composers, with nation, mountains, and the ocean. So they are poets, and all the time they were awakening this poetic spirit in people's lives. And I think that make the connection with, for example, Tom Jobim with Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, when she went to Brazil, she fell in love with the country and the people in Brazil.
Yeah, I think composers use elements of a lot of North American music and creates a straighter connection, right? To the if you use elements from a different country, this country will look at your art and your music at with a different angle also. Yeah.
And we hear a lot of patients talking when we enter a room. ICU, it doesn't matter, because we have this partnership with 14 hospitals, right? So when we enter a room with a patient, and they say like, oh, where's my drink? Singing bossa nova, wow, honey, where's my drink, honey? So it reminds them of this lounge area or this, celebration of life.
How did you guys start doing that? Because I saw, and I encourage everybody to check out your YouTube channel. And I saw you doing some work on YouTube with chemotherapy patients.
Yes.
How did that develop? How did you develop doing that?
Wellington Nogueira, the founder of Doctors of Joy in Brazil, which is a huge organization there, he was the one that suggested to us, could you please go to a hospital, bring bossa nova to hospitals? We're like, what? It was like different, right? So Broward Center for the Performing Arts, Jen Goodhart, Bonnie Repetti, they help us to kind of make this bridge, because all the doctors, directors of the hospital, like, we don't need a Brazilian group here, right? So it was through this small ensemble singing in a hospice area in Broward Medical Hospital that we begin this project, program, and expand it right now. But it's a very technical work. It takes like 6 months to 1 year training for the singers to be able to understand, to make the assessment in a hospital, and to have this approach, and very soft singing, very soothing melodies, right, and harmonies.
So it's, in other words, it's very specific. The healing is the songs are designed to heal. Do you bring your musicians in, or are they just the women's voices?
We have our audio engineer that brings a Roland. We record in the studio, acoustic guitar, right? We call Rolando, because he rolls, in the hospital, follows the voices. So it gives us the background music so we can harmonize. And we choose the repertoire that is not too melancholic or too hyper. But we have the board of directors, they're all doctors, so they can help us and guide us in this program specifically.
It's wonderful.
Do you have any special arrangements? You were talking about there's all these wonderful composers. Has anybody worked with you, or are you looking to work with any composer that writes for you, or what is your music from the canon of Brazilian
Yes,
music?
we compose a few songs, and Beatriz, you can talk about the arrangements.
Yes, normally we use songs already composed, but we have some compositions of our own, samba, and. But what we do arrangements. I'm a musician, so I arrange for 2, 3, or 4 part voicings, sopranos, soprano 1, 2, altos 1 and 2, and so we elaborate the composition.
We have more than 400 original arrangements.
How do we get a hold of you? How do we find you? What do you have
through our website, BrazilianVoices.org, Facebook. We are very strong on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Yes.
We have a few minutes left. What are some things on your bucket list, some of your aspirations, things that you'd like to do, you would like to accomplish with Brazilian Voices, unless you've accomplished everything?
No, nobody accomplishes everything.
This is just the beginning, right?
Yeah. What are some of the things you would
we
like
always
to do?
are focused more in the educational part, right? We try not to, just a little parenthesis, we try not to replay what is in Brazilian radio and American radio. We try to elaborate different things. They are not so known. But I think now we're starting more. We want to travel more, right? We are traveling. We're going to. We
She's
travel
a traveler.
to. I'm a traveler. But we've been. Brazilian Voices been to Spain, Mexico,
New York,
different places.
Club.
Now we're going to Arizona in October for Focus Brazil, an event there.
And also 3 hospitals. We're gonna perform in 3 hospitals in Arizona, so we're bringing this program
How
to
do you
different
get
places.
your
Going back to
bookings?
Brazil also.
How do you get the bookings to the various places? Do you?
Yeah, you
Is it
can-
just the 2 of you that is your marketing team?
No, we have a lot of people helping that. But you can send an email to info@brazilianvoices.org or go to our Facebook or our webpage, brazilianvoice.org. You can find all the information. or just call us at 954-217-1111. That was easy.
Do you have any recordings that you do? You sell
Yes, we have
recordings?
7 CDs distributed in the United States and Canada. We're in Pandora, Spotify, and all those places that you can find us. It's very easy to find us.
It's easy. Brazilian Voices. That's it. Self-explanatory.
Very, very easy.
Well, this was absolutely wonderful. I think, you know, one of the great things about Spotlight on the Arts, and one of the challenges, is getting a whole life into, what is it, 20 minutes, a half hour. So I do want to thank you so much.
Thank you for
Absolutely
having us.
beautiful, and I
Thank you.
can't wait to see you and support you. I'd like to thank our panelists and guests for being with us today, and I want to thank you for watching Spotlight on the Arts. We are a community program, so if you have any suggestions, we would love to hear them. You can email us at spotlightonthearts@browardschools.com, and please check our favorite websites to see what's going on all over South Florida. Those websites are floridatheateronstage.com and miamiartscene.com. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you tune in next week, and we will leave you today with our catchphrase. Anybody know what it is?
Go to the theater!